This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 21st of May 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. Daily Nation, teachers reject NIMIS. Is it NEMIS? NEMIS. Student number system. The Star, DCI officers fly to Dubai in gold probe. And The Standard, the big debate on new school learning system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start with the schools.
Yes.
Education.
Education. It's either education, corruption. I think it's on rotation.
Yeah, there's something going on.
Can I start with the Nation?
Yeah, we can do them together. So Daily Nation, teachers reject the NEMIS
Yes.
student number system, and the big debate on the new learning system.
Question I'm asking to the teachers: what bothers you if it's the students who are getting registered? It is not you, but I know why you are refusing. It is because when President UHURU Kenyatta did, or Matiangi, when they did electronic registration of police, they found that nearly 5,000 policemen did not exist. We had 5,000 ghost policemen. And that will save us in the next financial year 1.7 billion shillings. So if they are ghost students, which I'm sure principals take numbers of students and then they use that basis as a basis of ministerial allocation.
So what the head teachers are trying to suggest is that they prefer the manual headcount system.
Yes.
But I think what is trying to happen, or what they want to do with this NEMIS student system, is that if they can account for every single one of the students, that is going to determine how much a school is allocated in terms of budgets and funds.
So what do we think about this headline? We have a three-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you. We ask ourselves two questions. Is the headline topical, or is it speculative? Is it repetitive, or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? Because I think that the next headline will be, because the teachers rejected the NEMIS student system, we have a scandal. A scandal. Money got lost.
Yep. I think we toss.
Big debate
on
OBE versus CBE.
System.
Too many acronyms. I'm exhausted.
I'll fire again. Last time we reviewed this curriculum was 16 years ago. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, 844.
From 844. Last time I think to 844. Yes. All right.
16 years ago. Are you sure?
Is it? Yeah. No. It's last time we reviewed our curriculum. I don't know whether from what system to what system. Was 16 years ago. Now, I personally do have a problem with how our students are being churned out. And I told you last time, some of us, I actually think some of them are robots. Right?
As a robot reporting for duty, I don't know. Do you have something to say about CBE and OBE?
I'll say two things.
You're not a robot.
I'll say two things. I think right now, these people are arguing at cross purposes. The ministry and the nut people.
Yes.
But then I will say... the nut people, they prefer to go with the OBE system, which is an outcome-based education.
Right.
And in this article, they talk about how OBE and CBC are the exact same thing, which I think is factually incorrect.
Yes.
OBE was started or has been implemented in South Africa and Australia and has been subsequently dismissed.
Yes.
So in this article, when they say that it still exists in those countries, that's wrong.
Yes.
The other thing is, which Nut should probably go read up on, the reason OBE has failed is because it has put too much pressure on teachers.
Yes.
So for a union that represents teachers to try and implement something that will make teachers' lives harder,
it makes no sense.
Can we please go read a book?
Has been so wise over the past 2 days.
Therefore, can we toss this headline for not being thoughtful?
Yes.
Yes.
Finally, DCI officers fly to Dubai in gold probe. Oh, what I would do to be a DCI officer.
You guys,
a holiday in Dubai.
I
go to Italy.
New York.
Even I follow the money all the way from Italy back through the UK to Westlands.
Enjoy, guys.
What does it think?
I'm telling you. Oh yes, like eat, pray, love. Pizza, pasta, ice cream.
And prawns.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So anyway, DCI officers fly to Dubai in gold probe.
They're going to interrogate the nephew of the Crown Prince of Dubai. They're going to interrogate. The other time, the Auditor General was going to interrogate the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And I don't know how they'll use. And then last time, DCI went to Italy to interrogate the Italian state insurance corporation.
Wow.
They're interrogating state people.
Good on them. But the biggest problem is they go interrogate these people and then they come back with nothing. So now?
I don't know. For this one, if DCI does not shoot straight and do something, I think it'll be a big stamp of disapproval because the president was the whistleblower. If you do not do any arrests...
No, they're just going for
Yeah, I don't know about you, but this smells like a bought headline.
Oh yeah, it does. If you look at it and if you read it in comparison or in contrast to the article that was in the
Nation
today,
the other side,
then you will see that there is something similar about how those articles
there's no desert in Meru.
I don't know what the point of this is. You guys, I said on Monday that you guys that 2M was in another headspace. Today is Tuesday. It gets worse.
Oh boy.
By Friday.
Here comes Friday.
There's a reason why.
So we are tossing this?
Definitely.
All right.
And
they're going for sun safaris.
Welcome back, 2M. On to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country.
Yes.
And just like the headlines, we have a three-part criteria being infected that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy?
So what do we have? Gado, the standard.
These are laugh from Gado.
I found this hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, caricature of one Kamlesh Patni, Goldenberg Honcho. Their guide on his left is a caricature of Jared Otieno.
Taking a selfie.
And his shirt is written, "I love Dubai Gold."
Not all the bling that he's sporting.
Absolutely. And right next to him is a caricature of Zahir. Janda. Is it?
Yeah.
Whatever his
and
name
what is Patni saying?
What Patni is saying, what can I say? My legacy lives on.
And you have to note that below them is money that's just been thrown all over the place, just been strewn. They are absolutely enjoying themselves. I think I like this cartoon. I found it hilarious, but I think that we have to look at it in contrast to someone else's cartoon, and a cartoon that didn't even run today. It ran on Saturday in the Nation, and it belonged to Victor Ndula. And it had a caricature of a young... What is his name?
A young Jared
Otieno looking up into the television screen at Kamlesh Patni, and I'm guessing this is a throwback to history when Kamlesh was charged under the Goldenberg scandal. And in the television set, we have Kamlesh saying, "I'm a young, honest businessman," and there you have Jared saying, one day when I grow up, and he has this little cute eyes looking at him with such love.
But guys, I mean,
it was hilarious. You have to look at them together.
It's so normal, because when you go to other countries, I mean, and even now, there's so much love for people like Pablo Escobar or El Chapo.
You idolize some of those criminals.
You idolize some of. I'm not saying these guys are criminals.
I also didn't say that.
But you can dance around all you want to do, but you have to say that
there's some affinity.
Something.
There's some affinity, and there's some appeal to gangsterisms and manner of doing things.
Everyone loves the bad boy, including ladies. So I say we park this.
Okay,
we look at what's in the other cartoons, but I really, really like that cartoon.
Daily Nation. Who's this?
This is Ndula.
Ndula, yes.
I think I find it funny. Caricature of Sheikh Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai.
Walking towards
a crocodile that has gold in its mouth.
A crocodile trap.
Crocodile trap.
Yeah.
And you see the mouth of the crocodile is wide open, but it's being held by a stick. However, the stick is tied to a rope, and there's someone who's pulling the rope from a tree.
Who will pull the rope? Essentially what it is a trap.
Absolutely.
It's a trap. Once he enters to get the gold.
Yeah, and then he has a clever caption. He says, Kenya-Dubai relations on shaky ground.
It's a pun. I like the pun.
I think it's a good one. Yeah, it's a dad joke.
I like it.
My only question is, why a crocodile, not just a conventional trap? But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. References to dragons. Yeah, we like these reptilian creatures.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I do. But I found Patni's funnier, maybe.
Exactly.
And also because randomly it brought to mind Ndula cartoons.
Yeah, I think when you're comparing two gold cartoons, I think the standard by Gado is superior.
And also because we compared it already to Ndula.
Yes, to another one. Yeah.
Referenced in our mind.
So we toss it.
So I say we toss it.
Agreed.
Finally.
June.
I think you were violently opposed. Oh,
I gave it
Does
to you
your
because
moratorium
you
still
don't
hold?
like it.
I don't talk when it comes to ozone. You guys discuss. Then I'll give my comments after.
All right.
Wow.
You
Okay.
wanna explain it, or you want me to go?
You go for it.
All right. There is a caricature of two rocks symbolizing two countries, the United States and China. But in between the rocks is a Huawei phone, because it has the logo there, and captioned "Trade wars between a rock and a hard place." I don't know, but I think what Ozone is telling us is
That it's between two rocks?
No,
Show me the hard place, please.
no.
Maybe if we done the wall
It's
as China.
And I agree with you, but I think what he's trying to tell us is the flagship of the US-China trade wars is Huawei. But beyond that, I cannot see where it's going.
Okay. Listen, ozone. This is not how you use a metaphor. This is not between a rock and a hard place. What he has drawn is between a rock and a rock, right? And nobody is between a rock and a hard place. To imply that Huawei is in between a rock and a hard place is factually incorrect. Read a newspaper, please. China is not in between a rock and a hard place. They're doing perfectly fine without the sale of their phones in the United States. There's no trade war here in relation to Huawei because Huawei and China are doing fine. Please read a book. Read a newspaper.
What I can say is this. I do agree with 2J to this regard.
I'm very sorry.
I think that the withdrawal of Google and Intel from giving software to Huawei is actually an opportunity.
Yes.
I don't think it's a risk to their business.
Yes. I love
For this
that.
reason,
Yes.
the US has dominated the software space.
Absolutely.
You have the
Microsoft,
hardware,
Apple.
Apple. So you'll either run on 3 platforms.
Yeah.
Very few people run on Nokia, so on a Windows, and that's still Windows.
Right.
So that's still the
Big.
US.
Yeah.
Yes.
And or you run on iOS, or you run on Google.
Yes.
So if you take that away from them, and if you tell the Chinese, okay, now get your own software platform, you're giving them an opportunity to innovate.
Yes.
I say it's high time we had a big software platform from
Fantastic.
the East.
Fantastic. So instead
of looking at this as a rock and a hard place, it's actually an opportunity.
And
You
I
could be a
agree.
caged bird.
He's missed the point.
I agree with you. And do you know, maybe we should even change from a little bit of the big four and we put software innovation there.
I thought your big one was health. Here you are changing your mind, shifting goalposts.
Toss it.
That leaves us with Gado.
Yeah.
We have a minute or two from Gado of the Scandal.
Yes.
What is our final thought?
Final thought today comes from a book we all love. Personally, one of my best books.
It's yours.
Yeah.
I find it too violent, man.
A Fifth Estate classic. All right? And that
A Fort Hall School of Government classic.
Fort Hall School of Government classic. And that book is The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. All right? But before I want to read a quote from Niccolo Machiavelli.
Okay.
All right? And then Juni, you proceed. All right? Let me begin. And he says this: any man who tries to be good all the times is bound to come to ruin among the great number who are not good. Hence, a prince who wants to keep his authority must learn how not to be good.
Great quote. So I'll just give some context about the book.
All right.
This book was circulated as early as 1513, but it was published in 1532, 5 years after Machiavelli passed away.
Yeah.
Didn't even know that his own infamy. Poor guy.
Yeah, he never knew.
Yeah.
So there's a little way we can describe this book that might be offensive to some, but I think it's the reality of what the book is about.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a fruitless job application from a struggling bureaucrat.
Yes.
Now let me explain why.
Yeah.
Machiavelli started out working as a bureaucrat in Florence.
Yes.
And he wrote The Prince in
Yes.
order to impress Lorenzo di Medici
Yes.
after the Medici family reconquered Florence
Yes.
and turned it into a monarchy again.
Yes.
Okay.
So upon their return in 1512, Machiavelli was removed from his post because of his close association with the previous head of the Republican government.
Yes.
Wow.
So he was arrested and tortured on suspicion of treason,
Yeah.
but he was later released. So he went on to write The Prince, and he dedicated to various members of the Medici family in hopes of gaining favor and employment.
Yes.
And that is why we call it a fruitless job application from a struggling bureaucrat.
Oh, man.
But I think if we want to give you some of the traits of
Yeah.
what Machiavelli says the prince should have,
Yeah.
we'll give you a few. It is better to be stingy than to be generous. It is better to be cruel than to be merciful.
Yes.
It is better to break promises if keeping them would be against one's own interest. Princes must avoid making themselves hated.
Yeah.
The goodwill of the people is a better defense than any fortress.
Yeah.
Princes should undertake great projects to enhance their reputation. And finally, princes should choose wise advisors and avoid those who give excess flattery.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It sounds like a book, or rather an exercise in badness.
Yeah, it is.
But I will say this.
Yeah.
The Pope once described Machiavelli as the devil incarnate. I
Oh.
mean, I think it's because of the writings in that book. They
Yeah.
come off as pretty strong and also against popular, or rather classical political thought.
Oh, yes.
Machiavelli was the first person who distinguished, or rather he separated morals from politics. So before, politics and morality were kind of viewed as one thing, and it was just boiling down to the divine right of kings, and you get this right to rule from God, therefore you should be virtuous and do the best for the people because that is what is your duty.
Yes.
But Machiavelli saw politics in its truest sense.
Yes.
With human nature.
With human nature in it, and he separated any sort of virtue from political, from what politics should be, or how a prince should behave or should not behave. So I think that is why it comes off as a pretty mean book.
Yes.
But I think it's pretty honest. And in
I
the
would
book,
agree.
he talks about two antagonistic forces,
Yes.
if I could call them that.
Yeah.
So the first one is what he calls virtue, and
Yeah.
he says virtue 59 times in the book. So he says it over and over and over again. And when he says virtue, what he means is the skill and the temperament of the prince. That is what you use to get you in power. And he contrasts this against what he calls fortune. So fortune is what we can call the role of luck
Yes.
or fate in determining the order of what happens with a prince.
Yes.
And so he says that if you come into power by luck, then you will lose that power, because really it was
It's
just
luck, yeah.
the sands
It's
of
luck,
time.
it's fleeting.
It's fleeting. It's how
Yes.
time goes that you got into power. But if you come into power by virtue, then you will keep that power because it's in your skill, and your skill will keep you through.
Yes.
Then he keeps on harping on the virtues that a prince should have, and those are the
those
virtues that you
traits.
have called.
Yes.
Those traits that you have said that a prince should have.
Yeah.
And one of the things he says
Yeah.
is, is it better to be feared, for a prince to be feared, or to be loved?
Yes.
If you can't be both,
Yeah.
then you'd rather be feared than loved.
Hey.
And this is his understanding. It's very simple. For him, love is a very fickle emotion.
Yes.
And it's an infantile emotion, as Prof says. So if you're feared is a constant emotion.
Yeah.
It's a constant emotion. So
Yeah.
regardless of what happens in your life or whatever fate brings your way,
Yeah.
fear will be constant, and it will remain true to itself no matter the circumstance you find yourself in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he uses this on a story.
Yeah.
There's a king. No, is he a king?
Yes, oh, he was a tyrant. He called himself a tyrant.
Yes.
Cesare, I'll talk about a guy called Cesare
Cesare.
Borgio.
Hey.
These Italian names, they're so hard on my
Cesare
tongue.
Borgio.
Cesare Borgio. So Cesare Borgio is what he calls a very virtuous leader
Yep.
in his badness.
Yeah.
One of the things he did,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, if you are ever in a position of authority and your boss puts you in a higher position, worry. Because what is coming to you is what is called the fall of the favorite.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself as a regular minister and one day you are now called a super minister, worry, because that is a target on your back.
He knows who he
So
is.
anyway, what Cesare did is that he built up this minister and he gave him extreme powers over the people.
Yeah.
And so this minister was rough, he was rude, he was mean. And then one day, Cesare himself decided that no one should have that much power. So he decided to cut down this minister. And how he did it was in a very, very obvious way. He literally sliced, it was extremely macabre, he sliced the minister in half and put him in the square with a chopping board and a knife. And Machiavelli was present, and he actually saw this happen because he was actually in Cesare's court during his days as a
Bureaucrat.
a mid-level bureaucrat. And what he learned is that at the end, even though Cesare had all of these virtues, when his kingdom was at its biggest, he felt sick and died, and fortune took control of him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, if you're the type to like things like servant leadership or good governance ideals or pink governance systems,
Why pink?
or woolly for that matter, this is not your book, right? Second, let me ground what I'm going to say in a Machiavelli quote. He says, how we live is so different from how we ought to live. that he who studies what ought to be done rather than what is done will learn the way to his downfall rather than to his preservation. In sum, what Machiavelli is telling us is be real. Now, in 1966, a man called Wangohu Nganga wrote a copy of the Prince, his own abridged version, and gave it to Daniel Arap Moi. And Daniel Arap Moi, from then on, he never moved from the right or to the left.
Oh, yeah.
Point is, sometimes the fight against corruption or other things should not be such a serious fight. Because in chess, if you take a game of chess so seriously, you will lose. But if you take it playfully, you shall win.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yes.
And on that note, this is Winning Headlines on a day when 2M was giving us tidbits of his personal life, and we'll take them with a pinch of salt.
I only lose to one person, but the rest I chopper them.
And how many times do you lose when you lose?
Many times.
We had no winning headline. We have a winning cartoon from Gado of the Standard. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.